Today I'm taking a look back at the predictions I made for the championship table before a ball had been kicked in the 2024-25 season. Today together we're going to react to the table predictions and see how bad they actually were, or if there were actually some decent predictions in there. If you're going to enjoy, sure drop a like and subscribe. Let me know your best and worst predictions in the comment section down below. Let's get straight into it. This is actually the 6th year consecutively I've been doing the predictions like this. So we've got a bit of a scoring thing to see if it was a good year or a bad year. So say I predicted someone to finish 24th and they finished 24th, that's a difference of course 0, that's spot on, very good. But if I predict them to finish 23rd and they finish 24th, a difference of 1 of course. So you want the least amount of points possible to show that you've had a better year, if that sort of makes sense. And of course along the way you get the spot on predictions as well. So if you've done the same, let me know your score at home as well. And we'll begin with 24th. Oxford were the team I predicted to finish bottom of the league. They had a very good year. Des Buckingham, of course, lasted until the festive period and then relieved of his duties before Gary Rowett ended up taking over and had a very good managerial bounce with him and ended up keeping them up. They weren't in any real danger in the second half of the season of going down, I don't recall. I think first half of the season they were struggling at a few points, but in the end they've been able to have a very good year, finishing 17th. I'm 7 places out on this prediction. Next year's going to be tough again for Oxford, but looking at that squad and the manager, there's a lot of championship experience in there. So all the best for Oxford next season. I'm happy that they will be in the championship next year once again. 23rd place at the start of the season, I said Derby would finish there. Now, I wasn't quite expecting the season to go this way for Derby, as they ended up finishing 19th. That's 4 places out. For the championship, I'd say 4 and below is a very good prediction. 5 and above is, yeah, not great. So I classify this one as just about on the verge of a good prediction. Of course, the main difference is I had them to go down and they've stayed up. Main reason for that was John Eustace coming in and saving the day, walking away from a playoff pushing Blackburn team to take over at bottom of the league at the time, Derby County, and keep them up. It didn't click straight away. It took a few weeks, but then when it did get clicking, they looked really good. And Derby, once again, another team that will be in Championship next season. And 4 places out on this one. Not the best prediction, but it could have been a whole lot worse. In 22nd, the final relegation spot, I had Plymouth Argyle. And okay, 1 out of 3 teams to go down isn't great, but Plymouth were almost nailed on at the start of the season to go down. Wayne Rooney, yeah, he's just not got a good track record, especially at Championship level. And Plymouth ended up going down. Not bottom. That one went to Cardiff City. Quite impressive, actually, that they managed to finish below Plymouth, because Plymouth had a really awful year. Plymouth ended up finishing 23rd, so only 1 difference in positions out on this one. Not too bad at all. We'll take that one all day long. But hopefully Plymouth return, because I absolutely love the fan base there. And hopefully they can build up next season in League One, have a strong year, return to the Championship. I think that's what a lot of fans want for Plymouth, because, yeah, they're a fantastic club as well. In 21st, this might be one of my worst predictions of the video. I put Blackburn Rovers to finish there. Blackburn finished in 7th and was so close to finding a playoff spot late on in the season. Of course, back in the last season, John Eustace took over and helped them survive. I thought it would be a similar year this year, but they actually made some smart signings in the summer. And then Eustace lasted until, I think it was February, March time. In the January window, they got backed and they had a few exciting players on paper, but didn't really deliver what we thought they were going to deliver for Blackburn. And then Valerian Ismail takes over at Blackburn and takes a few weeks to get his feet under the table, but too late for a real playoff charge, and they end up finishing 7th. So overall, a good year for Blackburn, because they were in the top 6 for the early stages of the season, just couldn't maintain it. And next year, Blackburn, I'm really not sure. I don't think they'll finish that high, but of course, it's a big transfer window for every club, including Blackburn, this summer. So, awful prediction, that one. In 20th, I predicted it to be Portsmouth. Now, Portsmouth were a breath of fresh air this year in the Championship. was one of the clubs I was really excited to see come up from League One, having a fantastic campaign, winning the league, of course, and they ended up doing better than my prediction. In the first season after you get promoted, of course, in any league, the first aim is to try and stay up, and Portsmouth have done this. And a bit more, really. They finished 16th in the end, and they took their time to really get going. I recall the opening game of the season against Leeds United for Portsmouth. That was an absolute thriller of a game. But they weren't really getting many wins until 2025, really, where they started to pick up the 3 points more often. Big games against Swansea, 4-0 win at home come to mind, unfortunately for me. But no, good season for Portsmouth, good manager, and moving in the right direction. So excited to see Portsmouth next season in the Championship. 4 places out, so a decent-ish prediction here. In 19th, I had Stoke City. They finished in 18th, so close to our first spot on prediction of the video. Not quite here, 1 place out. Stoke, once again, not a great season for them. They started it with Pilash. A few managers took over, and then, of course, Robbins ends the season and ends up keeping them up. They were in real danger at one point of actually going down, but they ended up staying up. Not by much, but above the dotted line, which is what matters for Stoke. Next season now, it looks to be quite exciting. They've already signed Sorba Thomas, which is a very exciting signing for them. Just wonder where the goals are going to come from in that side, because, of course, Kumas was chipping in with a few last season, but there wasn't really a huge threat up top after Tom Cannon got recalled from his loan. So next season's a big one for Stoke. You always think with Stoke, okay, maybe they can go and build on, but it's never really happened. They've always sort of been in that lower mid-table position. But fingers crossed for Stoke next season that they can improve on this, because last few years it's been unacceptable for Stoke to be this low down in the Championship. They should be at the top end for sure, club like Stoke. In 18th place, I put Watford to finish there. Now, they finished 14th. In the summer, I just wasn't convinced. Didn't seem like there was a lot of ambition from the Watford owners. And in the end, cleverly, almost last the season, gets sacked right at the very end, which is disappointing to see, because I thought he was actually doing a pretty good job there. I mean, he hadn't lost a home game at Watford until December, and he took over in March. So that is pretty impressive. But Watford always want to move in a new direction every single season. The signings they've already been making ahead of next season, I don't think are at a high enough quality for where Watford want to be next season. I'll have to wait and see if I'm proven wrong on that. But Watford, a pretty disappointing season, but better than what I predicted. 4 better, but still 4 places out on this one. In 17th, I said Millwall would finish there. Now, Millwall had a very good season after Alex Neil was in charge. He did take his time to really get going at Millwall, but towards the end of the season, they finished it really strong. Ivanovic looks like a super player up top. Tanganga, of course, has apparently a really cheap release clause. We'll have to see what happens with him. I think he's too good for the Championship. 9 places out on this prediction. I think it's, best we all move on from this one. Dreadful year, but very good year for Millwall, all things considered. And hopefully next year they can make another step up and maybe even reach the playoffs. In 16th, I had Hull City. Now, Hull, before, of course, they sacked Liam Rossini at the end after missing out on the playoffs in 7th place. And so I did think that with the new manager, a few departures as well, they were going to slip down the table. And I thought 16th was being a bit safe. They finished 21st, people. 21st. They were so close to being relegated. And Ruben Sellés, who was appointed in, I think, December to keep them up, got sacked for keeping them up. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? I don't know what's going on at Hull. I feel like they just want success too quickly and they're not being too realistic about it. But Hull, they will be in the Championship next season, but a skin in their teeth. This prediction, 5 off. And at the start of the year, I thought I was being quite harsh on Hull. So, yeah, maybe not. In 15th, I put Preston North End. Preston finished 20th. They were so close towards the end of actually going down. They're very lucky to be in the Championship. Wasn't a great year. They started with Ryan Lowe, sacked him after the first game. Of course, it was not a great start for Preston. And then Paul Heckingbottom comes in, has a really good run, especially at Deepdale. They had a really good win rate and success rate there at home. But away from home, they just took their time to really pick up some points this season. In the end, they do enough to survive, just about, but with 5 places out on this prediction. It wasn't your stereotypical championship season this year. Bristol City made the playoffs, Preston almost went down, and them two sides are usually right next to each other in the mid-table position. So will this continue next year? We'll have to wait and see. In 14th, I couldn't be happier to get a team wrong. Cardiff, I predicted to finish there after a pretty decent season by their standards under Errol Bullett the year before. They finished bottom of the league. Brilliant stuff. And Cardiff will be in League One next season. And by the looks of it, Vincent Tan is doing a fantastic job as the owner and completely ruining that football club, which is what we love to see with your rivals. So Cardiff going down, bottom of the league, get in. 10 places off. I could be 23 places off and I would not mind on this one. Massive stuff. And Cardiff going down. You love to see it. In 13th, I predicted it to be Sunderland. Now, I must admit, this is a really poor prediction. But if you have a look at everyone else's predictions on Sunderland at the start of the season, they just lost Jack Clark, massive player for them in the last few years. They appointed Regis Labrise, and I think it's fair to say no one really knew what to expect. And he was like a duck to water at Sunderland. He just really did suit that team. They end up finishing 4th, which is 9 places out of my prediction. I went very safe by putting them mid-table because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I don't think anyone was really sure. But a memorable season for Sunderland. Winning in the playoff final, winning all their playoff games late on, and scoring late goals in each one was fantastic. They didn't end the season too well, but the playoffs is what mattered, and they got over the line, which is fantastic for Sunderland. And they'll be in the Premier League next season. Very happy for them because it's something different, isn't it? It's not the same 3 going up and down or someone that's been in the Premier League quite recently. It's a side that has really struggled in the last 8 years, going all the way down to League One and having to build themselves right back up. So really happy for Sunderland. Their fans deserve it. And hopefully it's a successful season next year in the Premier League. Albeit I'm a bit gutted I won't be able to see Sunderland down at Swansea next season. But hopefully soon we'll both be in the Premier League together. In 12th, I put QPR to finish here. QPR finished in 15th, and Marty Cifuentes, who looked like there was a bit of optimism going into this season with QPR, has ended up not seeing the season out with QPR. It was placed on gardening leave towards the end of the season. Don't know what that's all about, but he won't be there next year at QPR. Quite a few teams now looking for the new manager, including QPR. And there's a decent team there, but I thought QPR would do a bit better this season. In the end, 15th, 3 places off. Not a bad prediction, but yeah, QPR a little bit underwhelming from them this season. They did take their time to get going. But in November to December, they went on a nice little run of wins and unbeaten record until Swansea come along. So not too bad for QPR. Also got to experience my first ever away game this year, which was away at QPR. I'd highly recommend it to everyone if you ever consider it. Unreal. But 3 places out on this prediction. In 11th place, I put Sheffield Wednesday, and they finished 12th. So top half, only 1 place out. Pretty good prediction, this one. A lot of people were hyping up Sheffield Wednesday before the start of the season. Many people put them in the top 6. I didn't think they'd do that well. Yes, a great manager, but there's only so much you can do with a squad. And Chansiri really is ruining that club. For 12 months and they're under a transfer embargo because he's failing to pay not just the players, but the staff. Everyone that works at Sheffield Wednesday is not getting paid. It's a complete mess. I don't know if Danny Roll's going to be there next season. I highly doubt it, but he's linked with every managerial job, but somehow isn't getting appointed there, which, yeah, it doesn't quite add up because he's done a fantastic job at Wednesday over the last season and a half that he's been there. But next year, I worry for Sheffield Wednesday. For this year, a decent prediction, 1 off. In 10th, once again, we're 1 off. I put West Brom to finish there. They finished 9th and they drew so many games this season. Carlos Corberán, of course, leaving them on Christmas Eve, which is, yeah, quite brutal, but he's gone and done great things, of course, in the Liga. But next season with West Brom under Ryan Mason, excited to see him in charge because he's been linked with so many jobs over the years for the managerial role, but not taking it. But now at West Brom, it's a very good team to sort of take over. A lot of quality in that squad. And you're going to get back from the owners as well. So it's looking good for them next season. Excited to see what they can do. But 9th for this season, probably could have been a playoff spot, but a little bit disappointing. But in the end, Corberán did leave, and they did take their time to readjust under Tony Mowbray, who doesn't have a great record with the Championship playoffs in recent years, does he? So, that being said, I'm happy with this prediction, only one off here. Into 9th place, I put Bristol City. Now, Bristol City ended up finishing in the playoffs. Now, I always thought that Bristol City could finish in the playoffs, but I didn't actually want to go for it because Bristol City and Preston are stereotypically mid-table, aren't they? So fair play to Bristol City, albeit Liam Manning has now departed the club, which is a big shame because I thought next year they could build on it and make the playoffs again, which would have been very exciting. They have got quite a strong squad there as well. So the next manager at Bristol City is going to be very interesting. I'd have to say it's quite an appealing job from an outsider to go in at Bristol City because the foundations are already there. You're just trying to pick up a side who just lost in the playoffs. But no, exciting times ahead for Bristol City. 3 places out in this prediction. Not too bad at all. 8th place to put my team Swansea to finish there. Swansea, we finished in 11th. It wasn't a great season on the whole. But finishing in the top half is, yeah, it could have been a lot worse because start the season, a lot of optimism around the club after an awful back end of last season where Luke Williams sort of saved us a little bit. We were a threat of going down. So this season we were losing games by only 1 goal margins, weren't really scoring enough. And then when we were scoring, we were conceding. Around Christmas, we started to play some really, really good football, getting the results as well. And then the West Brom links come up for Luke Williams. And January was an awful month. We lost our captain, replaced him with Lewis O'Brien, who, what a player. We were so lucky to have him. And Alan Sheehan, who'd have thought? Now the new Swansea City manager going into next season as well. Exciting times ahead and hopefully good times ahead for Swansea. Modric become a co-owner as well. And we ended up finishing 11th. So it could have been a whole lot worse. We generally could have gone down. But Alan Sheehan got the best out of us towards the end of the season and made what was an awful season not look so bad in the end. So 3 places out on this prediction. We'll take that. In 7th place, I put Norwich City to finish there, missing out on the playoffs after reaching it the season before. Hannes Hoff Thorup, no one knew what to expect with him in charge. And they ended up finishing in the bottom half of the table, 13th. I don't think they'll be there next season with Liam Manning there, good manager. And they're already linked with some quality players, including Harry Darling as well. 6 places out on this prediction. It's not a great one. Let's move on into the top 6. In 6th place, I did predict Sheffield United to finish there. A lot of people at the start of the season were saying Sheffield United wouldn't finish in the playoffs. And I thought that was wild. I mean, look at their squad. The striking options. You got Kiefer Moore, Tyrese Campbell, Ryan Brewster, Tom Cannon in there now. And I'm missing loads as well. So it's a ridiculously stacked squad. They end up missing out on promotion to a last-minute winner from Sunderland, which I can't lie, I'm quite glad about it because Sheffield United, every time they go to the Premier League, they always come straight back down. No disrespect to them. It's just nice to see a new face in there. And Sheffield United next season, what's going to happen with Wilder? What's going to happen with some of their squads? Because it's a really good squad. You know, they really should have been up automatically this season, but fell apart at the last moment, which is quite disappointing from the Blades. But 3 places out on this prediction. Could have been a lot worse. I've seen a lot of people have a higher score for the Blades this season, so quite happy with that one. Into 5th place, I put Coventry City to finish there. Who finished in 5th? It was Coventry City. We took our time, but we eventually got one spot on. Now, Mark Robbins didn't start the year well with Coventry. Frank Lampard come in and he didn't have to do much. Just give a new set of ideas at Coventry and they straight away started to work wonders. What a squad that is, by the way. And next year they have to finish in the playoffs at least, unless they sell a lot of them big players. But Coventry, what a squad. Disappointing in the playoffs in the end. But hopefully next season they go again. And they could generally make a push for the top 2 next year. They could be the Sunderland for next season, in other words, of making a push for the top 2 and maybe missing out on it, but going up for the playoffs potentially. But Coventry, high hopes and in the end, not a bad season, all things considered, although they had a very slow start to the season. But a spot on prediction, let's go. In 4th, I put Middlesbrough. Now, every year I put Middlesbrough to finish in the playoffs, I feel. Michael Carrick, very exciting manager. He has now been sacked, which is quite a shame. I thought maybe one more year, but he wasn't getting the best out of this squad. Of course, Latte Laff was a big miss in January when he got sold. They replaced him, though, with some really quality players in January. Kelechi Iheanacho come in. I mean, what a signing that is on loan. Some of the other names they brought in was an absolute joke. Mark Travers in goal as well. You just couldn't get them playing. In the end, Borough finished in 10th, and that is very underwhelming. They should have easily made the playoffs this year. Easier said than done, but with that squad, you have to. But 6 places out. Not a great season for Middlesbrough, to be fair. In 3rd place, I put Leeds United to finish there. Back-to-back 3rd place finishes. But no, they won the league, didn't they? Daniel Farke worked his magic 2nd time around at Leeds United. And to be fair, they made quite a few big sales in the summer, so I thought maybe they'd fall off. But once again, that squad was still too strong for the league. And they invested in some really good players as well in the summer. So fair play, they won the league, and good to see Leeds back in the Premier League once again. 2 places out in this prediction. Yeah, we'll take it. 2nd place, I put Burnley. Burnley finished there. Burnley could have even won the league if they hadn't drawn as many games. They lost the least amount of games this season. I think it was only 2 or 3 in the end. Scott Parker, what a season for him once again. Getting teams promoted from the Championship is what he does best in recent years, with Bournemouth, of course. Another one coming to mind, and Fulham, of course, as well. But Burnley, incredible defensive record. Just couldn't score enough goals to win the league this year, really. Because a lot of draws in there this season. But Burnley, back in the Premier League, and they bounced back at the first time of asking, back to the Premier League. Spot on prediction, that's the 2nd one of the video. Love to see it. And the team I put top of the league, you don't have to watch this bit if you don't want to. You can just skip to where we compare our results to the other few years. I think I've made you want to stay for it now, unfortunately, though, haven't I? I put Luton Town to win the league. And I think a few people did, to be fair. But what a disaster season. They ended up getting relegated. 21 places out on this prediction, which is going to take a big hit on our score. Because up to this point, there's not been many bad predictions, apart from the Blackburn one, really. And maybe the Cardiff one as the high hitters. But this one is awful, isn't it? Luton Town, 21 places off. It was an awful season for Luton. But I just don't understand how Rob Edwards can do so well with Luton in the Championship, getting promoted, do well in the Premier League with them. But when they get back down to the Championship, it just falls apart with them. Yeah, it was a pretty good squad they had as well. Just didn't deliver this year, which is a bit of a shame for Luton. I hope they bounce back, because it's a nice team and a team that has recently done well from nothing, really. So we like to see them stories in football. But all the best for Luton next season. But 21 places off, not great here. But I hold my hands up on that one and say that was a dreadful prediction. But many people, I feel like, had the same for Luton. So overall, that gives us a score in the 2024-25 season of 122 and 2 correct. Is that a good score or a bad score? Well, at the start of the video, I did say that I've been doing this predictions now for 6 years. This is our 6th year. So let's compare it. In the 1920 season, I had a prediction score of exactly the same. 122 and 2 correct. 2021, we had 85, a score of, and 6 correct. That's a quarter of the league. I predicted spot on that year. Mental stuff. And that was actually our best ever year, the 2nd one. 21-22, 126, which is our worst score yet, with 2 correct predictions. 2022-23, a score of 90 and 4 correct. Very respectable year, that one. Last year, 23-24, 106 and 3 correct. And this year, 122 and 2 correct. So not great, but not our worst yet. There were a few big hitters, as I say. Worst one's got to be Luton. Best predictions, probably Coventry and Burnley in there. Of course, the only ones I got spot on. But a few others that were pretty decent in there along the way, like Sheffield Wednesday, West Brom, were good ones. Just trying to quickly flick through. Stoke was another good one, and Plymouth, albeit Plymouth was pretty easy, I'd say, to go down as a prediction this year. So in the end, not great. Hoping to improve next year, but I hope you've all enjoyed the video. If you have, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Let me know your best and worst prediction in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one very soon, guys. Take care. Goodbye.